We got a brand new Valhalla update that will add new skills, and I already got to see them, although I don't think that was intended, so let's go over them. It prepares us for the first post-launch season, but also removes a ton of farms, and there are some nice changes too. So I will tell you everything you need to know in this video. A like would really help me out. And let's go. I am, by the way, still doing a giveaway for 2,300 Helix credits that you can enter via the link in the pinned comment. You have to be a subscriber of this channel if you want to participate, and I will reach out to the winner via the email. And normally I of course do a weekly reset stream every Tuesday here on the channel, but to be fair, the reset isn't that exciting, so I decided to focus on the update video instead. The selection does tell us something interesting though, namely that the Einherjar items are in the rotation for Redda's shop. Like we see the Einherjar figurehead right here, so hopefully the Hell Damnation armor pieces can also show up at some point. The winged shield is the highlight of the selection, and it's quite nice, increasing your attack after a parry. But I think it's smart to overall just save your opal for if one of the new items comes around. So it will be good to keep an eye on the daily selection, and I will of course be doing that and report back when there's something noteworthy. And by the way, if you were having trouble talking to Redda before the update, then you should be able to interact with him again after installing this new patch. And then you can see the selection again and pick up contracts to get the opal. And you can of course also do that at his employees all over the map. And Ubisoft now made the icon for these characters a little smaller. So this is what it looked like before the update, and now it looks like this. If we go back to the settlement for a moment though, because we finally see animal trophies in our longhouse. Like, this totally adds some extra flavor to this building. First, we did not see them at all. So now when you kill a special animal boss, then you get their trophy and then they will show up here. One thing you will immediately notice are new skills being added to the skill menu. Like, it's pretty cool to see them add 6 nodes in total, and it seems like you can only see what the skills actually are if you are power level 400. Because here's the footage from Joyce, and she can see them on a lower level while I'm able to hover over them. And overall, they're not that exciting. For the wolf playstyle, we got arrow looter, so Eivor has a greater chance of looting arrows from archers. The bear skill is called fight ready, always start a fight with an adrenaline slot filled. And over on the raven playstyle, so the assassin playstyle, we got assassin carry, where you can automatically carry a body after a successful assassination. But who really carries bodies in this game? Like, let me know in the comments down below, but I never use it. Like, I spend my points now in the bear and the wolf skill. I think they are useful, but they're not like groundbreaking or super exciting, as I already said. So how it seems to work is that if you level up while being power level 400, you now get 2 skill points instead of a mastery point. And then you can spend those skill points immediately into the new skills, meaning that we also now have the first power level increase, because I'm now 402 after spending both points. Okay, so while editing the video, they removed the skills from my menu, so I got my 2 skill points back, but I cannot see the new skills anymore. I think they flipped the switch too soon. I think they will be added with the upcoming Yol Festival. That is a limited time event, as noted in the patch notes, with several festivities to enjoy and rewards to obtain. Dom, the community manager, already noted on Twitter that the festival won't kick off until later this week, so that is when I think we will be able to get those skills, although we now already saw them. So pretty big scoop. There should be a blog post up later this week, and I will of course keep you up to date here. What they did already do though with this update is largely increase the mastery points cap, as also noted in the patch notes. And we see footage here from C Games that I will link to in the video description. He got them all to 30, that was the cap before the update. But now you can go like spend even more mastery points here. I'm not gonna spend any mastery points to get like even better stats, because the game is already pretty easy and then your character will be even more overpowered. They did do some NPC power level tweaks with this update. So now the maximum difference between an enemy will be 51. So even if you are like a way higher power level than the region you are in, the max will still be 51, and then you will see the green dot indicating that the enemies are easy to kill. And yeah, that is really my experience. I don't really see a difference. Like, on paper, it should be harder. don't really see that. Maybe if I play more with this update. They also note that world bosses will now match the player's power when the power exceeds the world boss's base level. Meaning that you can't really grind and become a higher level than the boss you are having trouble with, because they should basically level up with you. And I kinda like this, because it means that boss fights will always be challenging as intended. It's really no fun to overrule a boss and then basically skip different mechanics. I had that multiple times because I did like the main story as sort of the final thing in the game. In the update notes, they know that they addressed an issue where wrong weapon stats were displayed for specific items, and you see the list right here. And what all these weapons have in common is that you can buy them at a vendor. And well, if you still need to buy weapons at the vendor, you will now actually see the stats, where first you would only see the name of the weapon. So that's a great change, now you know what you're actually buying. And the same can be said for the settlement items, by the way. We will now see an icon, making it way easier to see what it will look like when you put it in your settlement before you spend the silver. So going back to the weapons for a second, because they talk about stat changes in particular. And I do see a change for the Death Speaker. It first had 62 attack and now actually 76. So that's a pretty nice increase, but I see no stat changes for the other weapons. Maybe it depends on the upgrade level. They also talk about the Mark of Soul that you can buy at the vendor when your settlement reaches level 6, but again, the stats for this one seem to be the same. We also have some stat changes because that Dive of the Valkyrie rank 2 tactic against barred doors doesn't work anymore, so we have to do it the old-fashioned way, sadly. First, you could skip the puzzle by just like doing the ability, and then the lock would be broken. But now after the update, it really does nothing. That going to the menu though, before hitting the ground to negate fall damage does still work. Only of course if you would not die from the fall. So at least there's that. That beggar money farm I showed you in previous videos has also been removed. They will simply not give you a second rune anymore. Makes sense, because it was totally not intended that you would get an unlimited amount of runes that you could then sell for money at a shop nearby. Also, as expected, the tungsten farm in Gloucestershire was removed. Like, I don't see the roaming enemies with the loot anymore. I try and then reload my save, and then like there are still some other roaming enemies, just not the one carrying the tungsten. But maybe others still work, like let me know in the comments down below. This one was very well known, so maybe they did not touch on all of them. You are likely familiar with the God mode, right? Where you could become invisible for enemies, then kill them and still not be alerted. You could trigger this after fast traveling during a Orlok minigame. Well, now when doing the minigame, you will simply be unable to fast travel anywhere. So that's kinda how they removed this one. They added lootable chests to the Grandmaster's hideout. Something you will go to later on in the game. I was curious, like maybe they would add like chests with weapons. Turns out, they added the chest for materials. We got more fixes, namely for where players would lose weapons when doing the dual weapon swap skill. That was really an early issue. They changed the look of the Adrenaline Fiend skill that first was too similar to an adrenaline slot, so now it looks a bit better. We got a new accessibility option. If we go to settings and then to gameplay, we can now turn off QuickTime events altogether. During certain boss encounters, you will have these QuickTime events pop up, where first you could only change the type of QuickTime event. A small thing, but a really nice thing, is that we're now able to drop an oil jar or torch with triangle or Y. First, it was kinda hard to not have them explode in your face, so thanks for that. Oh, and horses will now run away after being hit by a torch. Makes sense, but yeah, so you know. And remember where in the previous update they made changes to these travelers that you will like find on the map thanks to the question mark icon, and they will tell you about a location for a small bit of money. Well, first they could tell you about a location in another region than where they were currently in. So that should be fixed now too. If you like the photo mode, then you will be happy to hear that frames are now finally working with a logo and other frames. Like, it's not really that special, but I know that some people like to toy around with this. And sometimes our good boy with the man's best friend ability would not do damage to zealots, but this has luckily been fixed as well. And we got many quest fixes as well, as you see right here. This is just a small selection, but I will leave a link to the patch notes in the video description. Of course, if you found more changes that are not noted in the patch notes, let me know in the comments down below or via the input@joraptor.com email address. And if you are curious, my progression bug that won't let me pledge to continue with the story has sadly not been fixed with this update. So I likely have to wait till 2021 before I can do the final few arcs. But luckily we got some new content coming with the Yol Festival, and I will tell you when it goes live and what you need to know, of course, in a future video. So when we know more about that, I will let you know here. Subscribe for everything Valhalla if you haven't already. A like would really help the channel out. And totally check out my previous video on the best bows in the game right now. For now though, I will speak to you next time, and goodbye.